So we entered into swap arrangements where we basically just take euros for dollars, and at an agreed time in the future we just swap them back again. Well, when things blew up, the game of just shuffling around our balance sheet, that was not sustainable. We needed to dramatically expand things in response to that dramatic change in risk. And you can see this here. Our balance sheet, which was sitting around, say, $900 billion, is more than double to over $2 trillion in just a matter of weeks. I think if you went back through looking at this balance sheet through history, you'll have never seen that happen before. Okay, so this was there was a very strong perception, at least from where I sat, that people thought, well, this is a Wall Street issue and it doesn't really affect people, only salaries of top executives at Wall Street firms. And if only that was true, but it's not. The problems in the US financial system are really fully entwined with the broader economy. The US and Europe and Japan now, and probably some other countries, are in recession. Economic activity is going backwards, not forwards. And less jobs means less income, means less spending, which adds to the defaults. People lose their jobs, they default on loans, so now it's compounding the bad mortgage problem. And it's feeding back on itself in terms of less spending, feeding back to less jobs. And it's spread. So you're getting more defaults on the mortgage side, but now you're seeing sharp increases in default rates on auto loans, on credit card, and you probably, I'm not sure if it's happened down here, it certainly happened in Atlanta where the city has gone broke. And one of the reasons they're broke is because they can't issue any debt. They have bonds, they need to build a sewer, so they want to issue bonds, but the markets are frozen up. Well, people are very hesitant about, well, geez, should I purchase a bond from the city? What if the city goes bankrupt?
California's facing the same thing. California,
yeah. So it's feeding back on itself. One way, so I said we're in recession. I think this chart, this is one of my pet peeves is about the notion of a recession, and everybody goes, well, are we in recession or not? It's like, what does that mean? It's a nice thing to be able to go back and show a time series chart and go, well, here's the gray bars, and this is, from a historical perspective, this is when we're in recession. But there's nothing magical about a recession. There's not an official designation of recession. It's a group of people, the NBR, National Bureau of Economic Research, private organization, is a group that says if we're in recession, then they look at some indicators. One of the indicators they look at is this one. And if you look at this one, it's pretty clear that we're in recession. This is the year-over-year change in employment levels in the U.S. Net. So this is the net change in employment, say from January 2007 to January of 2008, February of 07 to February of 08, and so on. And you can see, during expansionary times, we're usually adding in this economy 2 to 3 million jobs a year. And when we go into recession, we lose lots of jobs. 2001 recession, back when you're in elementary school, the economy lost over 2 million jobs. Most of those jobs were manufacturing jobs. They were mostly, in large part, associated with some over-investment in IT in the 1990s and the unwinding of that, and the kind of the final nail in the coffin in very low value added manufacturing industries in the U.S., like the apparel industry. we never had it took a long time to recover from that recession. We never had kind of approached the job growth that we did in the 1990s, but if you look at if you kind of compare the red to the red, it's pretty clear that we've slipped down into recessionary territory again on the job front. Another measure of economic activity is to look at this thing, GDP. Everybody know that one? Okay, so the red line is the annualized quarter-to-quarter % change in real GDP, a measure of total economic activity or total income growth in the US. The blue bars are the annualized quarter-to-quarter change in consumption. Consumption is around 70% of GDP, so when consumption moves a lot, GDP tends to move a lot as well. Well, consumption all year in end of 2007, early 2008 was pretty weak on a historical basis. In the third quarter, it just fell off a cliff. And anecdotally, we heard that all across the region. So one of the things the Federal Reserve Bank of Atlanta does is look at economic activity in the Southeast, kind of as a pulse. How are things in the Southeast relative to the rest of the country to try to get some idea on the state of the economy, and that's pretty much what they said. Retail sales collapsed, tourism collapsed, everything. Well, what else happened in the third quarter? Well, those other charts, that's when the financial market problems exploded. So when's a troubled asset less troubled? Well, when housing market stabilized. I mean, this is going to be how we get out of this eventually, is that sales improve, prices stop declining, then foreclosures return to more normal levels. When is that going to be? Well, honestly, I don't know. Because we've never really been in a situation like this where the economy has gone into recession and credit markets were already tightening. Usually, credit markets tighten in response to the economy going into recession. But this time around, credit markets were already frozen. We're in bad shape for about a year before we went into recession. Most forecasts expect to return to growth in the second half of next year. But there is a lot of, so here's an example of a forecast as growth in the second half of next year. But the risks in that outlook really are the assumptions that are underlying that financial conditions actually do gradually improve. So you see the tentative signs of some improvement, of stabilization again. That's got to continue. We can't keep going through these immense volatility in credit markets. The housing sector reaches some trough where home sales start picking up again. And then international demand, because we do rely to some extent on exports as a source of strength, but that exports depends on incomes in other countries growing. So we can't have the rest of the world also in recession and expect to have strong exports from the US. Going forward, there's clearly going to have to be fairly significant financial system reforms take place in the US. One of them is going to be greater oversight, almost certainly. There's really mortgage brokers. Anybody related to a mortgage broker? There's really no regulation of a mortgage broker. Pretty much anybody can be a mortgage broker. And originators, banks, the relationship between brokers and banks. Ratings agencies. So everybody relied on these mortgage-backed securities getting a AAA rating by some rating agency, when that rating agency really had no experience at all in this type of product ever before. And to see AAA on something, and you see AAA on General Electric, and AAA on this tranche of mortgage-backed securities, and you go, well, they're really the same thing? It's a bit of a stretch. Off-balance sheet items. I never talked about banks. A lot of what they did was, I showed you a bank balance sheet, and they had these loans and securities sitting on their books, but they actually had a whole